Test, test. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to WellSprings. My name is Andrea. My pronouns are she and her, and I am happy to be here leading you all in song with the rest of the band. So for our first song, please rise in body or in spirit and join us. Please take a seat for the next one. And I totally forgot to welcome anyone who's joining us from the interwebs. Not sure if the camera is going to catch us waving.
Sorry to miss you.
I went back to the before times when we only had in-person services. Oh, okay, next song here.
Lost and you're lonely, go on, figure out why. Take a trip to your dark side, go on and have a good cry. 'Cause we're all lonely, we're all lonely together. I wanna feel your sadness, I wanna share your sin. I want to bleed your blood, I want to be let in. Don't you don't we all just want to be together? Leave what's heavy, what's heavy behind.
If you're facing brother? Are you feeling fearful, sister? The only way to lose that fearful feeling, replace it with love that's healing. Are you feeling fearful, brother? Are you feeling fearful, sister? Leave what's heavy. What's heavy behind? 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 Please rise in body or in spirit for our next song. And this is our debut of this song. If you can count and are used to normal time signatures, this one is going to throw you. So just be prepared. It's not you, it's the song. Okay?
Okay, here we go. 3, 4. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel alright, the kind you want to stay up with all night. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel whole, they won't leave your side when you lose control, the ones that don't let you lose your soul. You gotta find your people, the ones that get the joke, who understand what you say before a word is spoke. You gotta find your people, put the needle in the groove. When you're together, you got nothing to prove. When you're together, you got nothing to lose. In a world full of strangers, you don't know who to trust. All you see is danger, trying to find what you lost. You can't go it alone, everybody needs help. You gotta find your people, then you find yourself. You gotta find your people that'll call you bluff, ride along when the road is rough. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel equal. They pick you up and don't put you down, help you find your way in the lost and found. In a world full of strangers, you don't know who to trust. All you see is danger, trying to find what you lost. You can't go it alone, everybody needs help. You gotta find your people, then you find yourself. The ones that understand you, the ones that lend a hand to you, the ones that don't demand anything from you. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel alright. They tell you the truth and they wish you well. You gotta find your people, then you find yourself. You gotta find your people, then you find yourself.
Welcome to WellSprings, both to those here in Bell Hall and to everyone joining us online this morning My name is Adam. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm honored and grateful to be leading our worship service today. Each week when we gather, we light a chalice as a symbol of our shared spiritual heritage as Unitarian Universalists. It's not just a symbol of what is past, but what is present. That divine spark, that inner light that shines at the heart of each of our lives. As we light this chalice, may we share our light with each other and with the world. We've asked Pat Kaler to come forward to light our chalice this morning, and after they've done so, we'll say these words together. And together we say, we light this chalice to celebrate the path lit before us, the warmth of kindness that shines from within us, and the radiance of wisdom that is shared between us and never goes out. Thanks, Pat. Good morning. Got my Reverend Lee vibe on today, my flannel to represent her since she can't be up here. She's not going to be up here today for you all, so take it in. Our mission here at WellSprings is to be a community charged full with the charge of the soul. What a last 2 weeks it was for music. And I'm not even talking about all the WellSpringers that I saw on social media at the Pink concert in Philly, nor the fact that the band just debuted a new Drew Holcomb song for you up on stage this morning, but I got two more for you. Who's a fan of the Tiny Desk series on NPR? And who is a fan of Broadway? Well, did you get a treat this week? For those who may not know, Tiny Desk concerts are live in-office performances at the NPR headquarters in D.C., literally behind a desk in front of some bookshelves. So many great artists have come through there, but recently it was Stephen Schwartz and the two current leads from the Broadway musical Wicked. Stephen wrote the book, the songbook. It's the chance to hear an intimate performance on a few selections, also while, in this case, Stephen lets you in on, between songs, his inspiration for the pieces. I love hearing how composers or artists got their inspiration for songs. For Good is the closing song of the musical. For good, in this context, meaning forever, but also literally for good. The naming of the song was a light bulb moment for Stephen when he and his writing partner were fleshing out where the two witches were in their life journey at the end of the show. She had said to him that they have changed each other for good, for better in some ways, and forever also. Then, in coming up with the lyrics, he asked his college-age daughter at the time to imagine that she would only see her best friend one more time for the rest of her life. What would you say to her? Her daughter and her friend had been through the usual ups and downs, joys and disagreements like all best friends do. And she talked about how people come into our lives for a reason and some other things, and those responses essentially became the first verse of the song. Stephen went on to say that this song is just further evidence of this glib, infatuous thing that Stephen says when people ask him, Stephen, how do you write a song? And he says, tell the truth and make it rhyme. Then, Paul Simon appeared on the Howard Stern show for the first time. Does anybody still listen to Howard Stern? At 81 years old, Paul still sounds as majestic as ever, and his finger-picking style never goes out of style. During one of the segments of his interview that online they titled God and Life After Death, Howard asked Paul, what's the greatest lyric or song that you've written? And he said, of the songs that seem to have come from a mysterious source, where you feel as if the music just comes through you, there are three big examples of that. Sound of Silence, Bridge Over Troubled Water, each of those giving him that whoa feeling. But where he knew it was that feeling was Graceland. This prompted Howard to ask him, is there a God, Paul? Are we going somewhere? Paul says, the planet that we're living on is so beautiful and the universe is so awe-inspiring that if there is a creator, that he would certainly thank that creator for a job well done. But if there is another reason, he would still be so grateful for his existence. But he wouldn't feel like a fool because it is such an experience to be here and to be alive. And as Nick had said during our prayer before this morning, all these miracles that have put us all together today. He then quoted a friend of his that's a Tibetan Lama who said to Paul that he believed after death there's a dark period that lasts about 3 weeks, and then we're reincarnated. Paul said, I'm not inclined to believe it. But the fact that you believe it, and I have so much respect for your wisdom, makes me feel like it's certainly a possibility. So I encourage all of you to check out both of these music events in their entirety if you get the chance. Some really great stuff. Right now, I'd like to invite Sandy Tucker up here to provide us with a chargeful moment. Sandy?
Morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm here today for Heartworks. We are starting a new project that we're going to run for the month of October. And I'm here with Eileen Violini from Dawn's Place. She's going to talk to us and tell us about Dawn's Place. And let me tell you a little bit about her. She's a graduate of the American University of Washington, D.C. She has over 15 years of experience in nonprofit communications and fundraising. She lives right here in Chester Springs and is the proud mom of a son and daughter, one a graduate and the other a senior at Downingtown East High School. Eileen, tell us about Dawn's Place and how we can help.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for having me. Just so that you all know, this is also the inaugural version of this talk. So thank you for your patience. When I started at Dawn's Place, I didn't know much about sex trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation, mostly because the subject is taboo. We see it as a lewd story or joke on late-night TV or sensationalized on social media. It exists in the shadows, surrounded by myths, making it hard to see what it is in the light of day. What would we see if sex trafficking and CSE were stripped of innuendo and misconception? You'd recognize it as one of the greatest human rights violations of our time, a multi-billion-dollar industry that traps the already vulnerable of society into a life where escape is almost unthinkable. Unthinkable mostly because the people victimized don't even realize they're being exploited. Victims are manipulated by people they trust, by someone they love, and yes, sometimes even by themselves, into what is simply known as the life. What I've come to learn is sex trafficking is as different as the hundreds of thousands of victims in the US each year. I really wish I could tell you an exact number, but because of how shadowed this crime is, it's really hard to say. But I can tell you that it isn't something that only happens in places that are far away. In fact, it happens right here at home. In Chester County, we rank 5th in the state of Pennsylvania for sex trafficking offenses. Who's behind us? Do you want to know who's behind us? The city of Philadelphia ranks 6th. So they're not even as high up as Chester County is. And the place with the most sex trafficking offenses in the state of Pennsylvania, Lancaster County. That's sobering, right? 26% of the offenses in the state of Pennsylvania happen in Lancaster County. The rolling fields and farmland right next door to us is first in the state. Luckily, there are organizations like Dawn's Place that tell the entire story of CSE to help everyone to know what this crime really looks like, and hopefully to ensure that these offenses don't continue to happen. Dawn's Place also exists to help victims who do get trapped to start to begin to live a life on their own terms. We help women to start the process of healing their trauma so they can begin to live independently, to have a job, a home of their own, and equip them with the ability to face any challenge so they don't get caught in the life again. We provide a warm home, healthy meals, intensive therapy, job skills training, life skills training, access to services like pro bono legal aid, and so much more, all so they can begin to feel safe and free. My friend and co-worker Anne-Marie was one of these nameless women living on the street, selling herself to pay a pimp. Excuse me. If she didn't come up with the cash to meet her goal, she would be beaten. And she was, many times, and ended up in jail too. prosecuted and convicted simply because she was trying to stay alive. Today, because of her own resilience and Dawn's Place, she has a home for her twin daughters and her self-respect back. And because of her time, Anne-Marie, she's able to live a life that she really feels is true to herself. Anne-Marie wanted me to share with you her thoughts about Dawn's Place. She said, "It's amazing. It makes us whole again. We come broken and they heal us. It teaches us how to trust someone, how to love someone, and how to love ourselves." Thank you all so much for your generous support so we can be there to help women like Anne-Marie and others that come to our doors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Eileen and Sandy. This morning, we'd like to especially welcome any newcomers. If this is your first or second time with us, we are so glad that you are here. I hope that you'll fill out a connection card so that you can learn more about us and we can start to introduce ourselves to you as well. If you're watching from home, there's a link to an online connection card in the description below the video. Any of you can fill out a connection card on your phone through our WellSprings app. See any of our greeters this morning to help you get connected. I think it was Ron this morning and Carol. Yep, right there they are, waving their hands in the back. Thank you very much. You can certainly reach out to them as well. If you'd like to interact with folks who are joining online this morning, there is a live chat available on YouTube. To access it, you'll need a YouTube or Google account. Just sign in and click the live chat button. Finally, you can always find out more information about today's service as well as our upcoming events and news through that WellSprings app by scanning the QR code available on the welcome table and just by the front doors as you walk out of Bell Hall. We have a few pieces of news we want to highlight this weekend, and for that, I'll turn it over to our Membership and Communications Coordinator, Jessica Heichel.
Hi, WellSprings. My name is Jessica Heichel with your announcements for this week, and as always, here is a QR code that will take you to today's order of service. You can scan that at any point to get more information on today's announcements. So up first, a reminder that today is your next opportunity to join in on a small group discussion based on our current message series. And this one is taking place at 1 o'clock at Pine Creek Park. Now, I am recording this on Friday, but I checked the weather for Sunday, and if everything holds, it looks like we might actually be seeing the sun on Sunday. So that feels meant to be, and maybe this is a great excuse for you to check out one of these Soul Bite small group gatherings. And this one is especially family friendly because there is a playground right there. There are, of course, more dates and times available coming up, so if you can't make this one, take a look at this QR code and see the other ones that are coming up. See if you can make it to one of those. Second announcement, the family of Carol Klikotka has set a date for a memorial service that will happen here in Bell Hall. That is October 14th, and it's going to start at 11:30. That's a Saturday. If you would like more information on that and also to RSVP so the family knows to expect you, please scan that QR code. It will take you to a link where you can do that. And third announcement, finally, throughout the month of October, our Heartworks team is going to be collecting personal items, toiletries, some household items for victims of human trafficking in our area. If you would like to see a list of needed items, please scan that QR code, and there will be a box in the back of Bell Hall every Sunday during October. You can drop your items off there, and they'll be greatly appreciated. Thanks, everyone, and I will see you next week.
Thank you, Jessica. At WellSprings, the foundation of all that we do is rooted in the power of connection, of making space in our hearts and in our lives for each other. This is the part of the service where we honor that connection by greeting one another. We recognize our community's presence well beyond these walls, so feel free to take a moment now to connect and share a greeting in the live chat, or maybe say hello in WellSprings Oasis, our private group on Facebook. For those here in Bell Hall, a reminder to just please ask before hugging or approaching closely, and if you prefer to keep distance for others for any reason, just stay in your seat. That'll be our cue to give you a friendly wave from afar. With gratitude for all the ways that we might connect, please greet one another now. Hi, buddy. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for those warm greetings. There's always an opportunity for those here in Bell Hall to share greetings afterwards. They're especially rambunctious today. I know, right? Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, everybody, for those warm greetings. Those here in Bell Hall, you're always invited to continue your conversations at the coffee hour, which will take place right here in this room after service. So we encourage you to do that as well. I invite you now into our time of generosity, an opportunity to express our gratitude for and commitment to the ways that this spiritual community has an impact on all of our lives. We sustain WellSprings now and into the future through these contributions. If you'd like to, you can use your phone to give from anywhere. Just text WSprings to 73256. It's also easy and convenient to automate your giving through Realm. Our greeters will be bringing hats around for those who wish to donate by hand, and you can also drop a check or a cash donation into the box near the front of the doors on that welcome table. Thank you all for the way that your gifts support WellSprings. Our offering will now be gratefully received. Great. Thank you, everyone. Having shared energy between us and the giving beyond us, let's take some time now to reground into the deep and soulful energy that's within. We do this by doing what is most simple and elemental in our lives. We take a breath, inhaling and exhaling without rush or hurry, breathing in and breathing out. There's nowhere else to go, nowhere else to be. Let us cultivate peace and experience presence together. As we prepare for our time of mindful silence, we follow these words from Thich Nhat Hanh. If we want to enter heaven on earth, we need only one conscious step and one conscious breath. Wherever it is that we are, whatever it is that we are doing, however it is that we are feeling, let us remember that peace and presence are always as close to us as is our own breath. May this be so for us this moment. May it be so for us this day. And may it be so for all of us in the days to come. And now, I'd like to invite all of our congregation's children to join our staff and volunteers in the back of the room for their time of fellowship in Youth Spirit. Youth Spirit will be meeting in the dining hall, I believe, today. And grown-ups, please pick up your children after Youth Spirit. After the service is over, we'd really appreciate it. And now let's join the band one more time for our next song. Half the band. Half the band.
Set change.
I have a voice, started out as a whisper, turned into a scream, made a beautiful noise, shoulder to shoulder marching in the street. When you're all alone, it's a quiet breeze. When you band together, it's a choir of thunder and rain. Now we have a choice, 'cause I have a voice.
I'm not living to die. Don't stand in a wasteland, look me in the eye. Stop living a lie and stand up next to me. You gotta put one foot in front of the other with a hand in a hand, holding on to each other. Go on and rejoice, 'cause you have a voice.
It is loud, it is clear, it is stronger than your fear. It's believing you belong, it's for calling out the wrong. From the silence of my sisters to the violence of my brothers, we can rage against the river, feel the pain of another. I have a voice. I have a voice, and I let it speak for the ones who aren't yet running free. It's killing me. No one is saying what we need to hear. I will not let silence win, or when I see all the pain our people are in, there's no other choice, 'cause I have a voice.
It is loud, it is clear, it is stronger than your fear. It's believing you belong, it's for calling out the wrong. From the mouths of our mothers to the lips of our daughters, we can dream like a brother, speaking loud like a father. We can heal. Can you hear us? Can you hear us now? I have a voice, started out as a whisper, turned into a scream, made a beautiful noise, shoulder to shoulder marching in the streets. When you're all alone, it's a quiet breeze. When you band together, it's a choir of thunder and rain. Now we have a choice, 'cause I have a voice.
Now we have a choice, 'cause I have a voice.
Now we have a choice, 'cause I have a voice.
remember to open up your mic. I have some glasses. I have this to fan me. I have some water. So I think we're ready to roll. And this song that we just sang almost had me verklempt, because I'm speaking of that we have a voice. So years ago, when I first joined this congregation, our founding minister, Reverend Ken Belden, recommended that I follow a Catholic Franciscan, Father Richard Rohr, as a spiritual practice. Father Rohr has a daily meditation. It's actually a short essay, really, and it's on a spiritual theme. And I've been following him for about 10 years now. Recently, I had told Reverend Lee that I wanted to offer a message on our series theme for this fall, Off the Fence. Well, immediately, I began thinking this is a mistake. I always do that. Begin by thinking, oh man, this is a mistake. I have nothing to offer. Then I start listening. Just listening for what needs to be said. And then, lo and behold, up comes a meditation from Father Rohr titled Forthtelling, not Foretelling. Father Rohr points out the difference between foretelling something and forthtelling. He says the prophets in the Old Testament of the Bible show up when things have gone too far astray. The people of Israel are heading in the wrong direction. Foretelling is not predicting the future. The prophets are warning where the wrong direction would lead. He says the job of the prophets in the Old Testament of the Bible their job was to say what needs to be said. That is forthtelling. The prophets remind the people of Israel what God wants for them. They point out the wrong direction, and then they're calling people back to the path. Turns out, listening for what needs to be said is an age-old method, like thousands of years old. Saying out loud what needs to be said, that's using something called the prophetic voice. So, holy moly, I'm trying to speak in a prophetic voice. Saying out loud what needs to be said, have you guys ever been in a room where somebody finally did that? They said out loud what needs to be said? Yeah, really. Maybe it was, Grandpa needs to quit driving, we got to take the keys. Maybe it was something like, nobody leaves till we all sober up. But it's not easy. Can y'all remember, I think some of you can remember a time like that, when somebody said out loud what needed to be said? And what did that feel like? What did it feel like to do that? So let's take a moment right now and share with each other one word, or yell out in this direction, one word. What did it feel like in that room when they said what needed to be said? Great. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. Relief. But uncomfortable. Exactly. Relieved, but uncomfortable at the same time. We didn't want to see that. We didn't want to hear it. But yet we knew we needed to, right? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's not easy. So saying what needs to be said requires jumping off the fence. Jumping off the fence isn't easy either. That jump can feel like foolhardiness. And it requires some courage also, at least commitment to what we care deeply about. Clearly, one of my commitments is to WellSprings, and many of you know I am part of what we call the Delaware Posse here at WellSprings. The posse saddles up and heads for WellSprings every Sunday. And so posse, to wave, and one posse member is actually today a docent at the museum, so he won't be here. But he represents us with the kids at the museum. Another of my commitments is in Delaware, in Wilmington. And I've been struggling to get off the fence about a request from the state of Delaware Department of Corrections, DOC, Department of Corrections, has been asking me repeatedly to restart an important program in our local prison. As many of you may remember, I have shared before about our program, which was developed primarily by Quakers in collaboration with others who stand for restorative justice. The program is AVP, Alternatives to Violence Project, which now coordinates with the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change. The Alternatives to Violence Project has my heart, but my last workshop was February 2020, just as COVID locked us down. COVID lockdown has frankly locked down some of my spirit. I'm an extrovert who went into hiding to save other people from possible infection. To keep hiding for over 2 years, I had to take the position that I was a danger to others. Coming back out of hiding, well, I'd suggest here, think of a creature who needs to come out and slip in to see, is everything okay, to come out and join everybody again. Yeah, it felt like that, it really did. And then I'm older and I'm frankly more easily tired. So facilitating a workshop for 18 intensive hours over a long weekend takes something. So could I help restart our program after years of COVID lockdown? AVP is the only program being requested by DOC since no other program inside the system or offered by other nonprofits, has provided the same results. And as I've mentioned here before, when the guys incarcerated participate in the workshop, then after their release, there's twice as likely to stay home as citizens. The other way to say that, their recidivism rate, the likelihood to offend and come back to prison, drops from 80%, God help us, to 40%, twice as likely to stay home. So DOC actually paid for an independent study which proved that. And AVP, of course, has been favored by them ever since. So now they're asking me, as the AVP coordinator for Northern Delaware, to start the program. And I don't know. I'm on the fence. I love AVP, but I'm older and more easily tired. How about someone else? If we could find someone else. Everybody was stretched thin. Other AVP facilitators have located 2 citizens to help me. Tom facilitated at Sing Sing, and he now lives here in Chester County, pretty close enough to Wilmington. And Tim is a retired public defender. So both are more capable than I am, so let Tom or Tim restart the program. But DOC said they know me. We have a relationship that goes back over a decade. And we have trusted one another for years. So there's that piece of trust in a relationship that makes it thrive, that make it last through hiding out in a hole for 2 years. I struggled with the decision. So Tom and Tim met with me and pledged their support. 3 more citizen facilitators drove up 2 hours from Slower, Delaware, to meet with me and the president's staff to offer some support. But the program's not complete without incarcerated facilitators, and all of ours have served their sentence and been released to home, thank God. So, okay, It was time to jump off the fence, live my values, prove where we stand. So last weekend, I spent in prison down in Delaware, in Wilmington, our first workshop since February 2020. Friday evening, all Saturday, all Sunday, then Tuesday evening again. Total of 18 intensive hours of experiential learning. We learn from each other. Complete the sentence, violence has impacted me by. So we go around a circle, we all sit in a circle, we take turns. So we go around the circle and all took a turn at completing that sentence. It was my turn to lead. I said, truly, violence has impacted me by the murder of my children's father by a stranger. Handing on to my left, violence impacted him by the murder of his mother when he was 6 years old. And around the circle we went. Only Tom had not been impacted by murder of close family or best friend. Although all of us had experienced trauma through murderous violence, no one in that circle had passed it on. All of the guys in this group, and in fact in that prison, are incarcerated for nonviolent crimes. Their offense was definitely a stupid decision. You were warned. Yes, but the offense was not a violent act. So, how'd the workshop go? Well, start smiling, folks. Let it start warming your heart, because the guys wowed us. Friday, they arrived reluctantly, cautiously. They had been assigned to attend this workshop. They were just told you have to be there. They didn't know what we were going to do, what we were going to be. But by Sunday afternoon, and then, of course, Tuesday evening, they were open, thankful, and even excited. The guys said things like this. And I, of course, scribbled down what they were telling me. I never thought I would find friends in prison. I can't believe anyone cared about me anymore. I remember who I was before I screwed up everything. I have hope now. These guys will be going home with hope to stay home and have a new way to build a new life. Not only that, AVP needs incarcerated facilitators, right? Well, usually of 12 guys, 4 or 5 would want to become facilitators themselves. And of these 12 guys, 10 want to train to facilitate workshops, to devote structured time to provide the experiential learning that opens the heart and shows why you matter. These guys intend to pay forward for no other reward than that. Where would you say they stand? So where do we stand? You can hear that two ways. There's a report, as in how are we doing, what's going on, where do we stand? And then the other way is in where should we stand? Like a reception line or a stage which says, where do we stand? Okay. So I want to go back then to the prophetic voice. Father Rohr emphasizes love speaks the truth. The prophetic voice says what needs to be said. He says the prophet's voice is not cynical, it does not whine or despair, but it's often full of lament. He says lament is a cry directed to God. It is the cry of those who see the truth of the world's deep wounds and the cost of seeking peace. It is the prayer of those who are deeply disturbed by the way things are. I see we stand, our American nation, our American community, in a spiritual swamp. I'm not just talking a political expression. I cry the lament of a people immersed in spiritual quicksand. Even many Christian congregations are in this swamp. They no longer hold up the core of Christian principles, the kinds of things Jesus taught in the New Testament gospel, modeling and teaching compassion, mercy, and grace. We know there were political organizations who saw the advantage of recruiting Christian churches. Starting in the 80s and 90s, these churches were tempted toward the power of dominance, the power to force others to abide by their vision of how the world should be, not realizing the power to force would corrupt that vision. Apparently, they forgot the lesson in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 4. In translation, for any with ears to hear, Matthew tells the world, during the temptation of Jesus, again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. All this I will give you, the deceiver said, if you will bow down and worship me. Then Jesus said to him, away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. The high mountain of political power offered a view of America that was a sore temptation to a denomination which intended goodwill. But in return for their votes, they were deceived. Now their focus is on retribution, dominance, vengeance, and power to force others. Now the American People's Congress is infested with the power to enforce others. The U.S. Congress is suffering from domestic congressional abuse on a national scale. In the prophetic voice, lament is the prayer of those who are deeply disturbed by the way things are. Father Rohr challenges us. If you are not struggling to love people, if you're not trying to build understanding with those you disagree with, then you're not really doing the work of building beloved community. Where do we stand on building beloved community? Are we all trying to dominate, force others to our point of view? Or enough of us trying to listen and mend and love? Do we want to do what Father Rohr was calling mend the threads that hold society together? Well, yeah, but how? Here is some practical advice I gleaned from an article in Psychology Today by Dr. Steve Hassan. He's a mental health counselor from Freedom of Mind Resource Center. He's a specialist in undue influence. Dr. Hassan says, under the right circumstances, even sane, rational, well-adjusted people can be deceived and persuaded to believe the most outrageous things, as well as have blind faith in their authoritarian leader. I'm about to paraphrase his advice to have a real conversation. I hope that we can build some bridges, maybe. Dr. Hassan advises 4 points. He says, be patient and respectful when asking questions. Speak from truth. 2, seek common ground by sharing similar values and experiences. 3, avoid triggering defensive response. We want to reconnect. And 4, build trust with honesty and forbearance. Good advice, but how is that actually spoken? What are some practical ways to talk authentically to Uncle Jack, who used to help feed the homeless, but who now wants to shoot immigrants at the border. So I kind of added some things to what Dr. Hassan recommended. One, be prepared to remain patient and respectful. And I said it does help if you can get past anger and disappointment and get to a place of compassion, if it's possible. Speak from the truth. Uncle Jack, I was always so impressed when you had that group that was preparing meals at the homeless center. I wanted to be kind like you. But now I feel awkward. I don't understand, and I want to understand what you're seeing. And then let him have time to think, all right? Seek common ground. I figure we both want things to get better. I figure we're both worried about the future. Avoid triggering defensive response. Don't offer evidence or advice. Don't even dispute wildly unbelievable assertions. It's useless and offensive to someone whose beliefs are now held religiously. Build trust with honesty and forbearance. Uncle Jack, we just don't see it the same way. Tell me again about your plans at the border. Let him hear himself say that again. Uncle Jack, thank you for trying to help me understand. I just can't see it. I can't get there. So what happened to Uncle Jack? He started from goodwill. Then he took up the temptation of political power, still wanting to do good. Then he was baited to want others to do good, the kind of good he envisioned, and he was informed endlessly that those others are bad. Then he was advised he would be a hero to prevent those bad others from doing differently from him. He fears the others now. He is bombarded that they are threatening him. He is deceived by lies that excite him to visions of dominance, vengeance, and the power to force others. And that's the slippery slope that landed our nation in a spiritual swamp. Think of this. Father Rohr warns us, and he says, I'm going to quote him, if we don't have a sense that history is going somewhere, we will go in circles, and our lives will become meaningless. We enter a kind of existential absurdity with no direction in which many people become caught. Without the word of the prophet, religion becomes no more than legitimation of the status quo. But, ray of hope, Father Rohr also says, when you read the prophets again and again, which he did and I didn't, but when you read the prophets again and again, we are struck by their three-step forward in the direction of justice, mercy, compassion, and love. Surely, when you and I listen intently, we will hear God's intention of restorative justice, mercy, compassion, and love. We can stand on the side of justice, mercy, compassion, and love. We can build resilience with justice and mercy and compassion and love. That's where we stand. I want to conclude with a poem from a spoken word poet, Amanda Brown. Amanda Brown responds to the question, how do you know when you're hearing from God? So let me get a little bit of water here. Poem. She said, how do you know when you're hearing from God? I don't know how to explain. My words never felt so small, so useless, so incapable. I wanted to say, put your hand in the middle of your chest. Feel the rhythm there. I wanted to say you'll find the holy text in so many places. on crinkly pages of scripture, in dusty hymnals, in the creases of a grandmother's smile. God's ears are here for the babies, for the immigrant, for the refugee, for the depressed, for the lonely, for the dreamers, the widow, the orphan, the oppressed, and the helpless, those who are about to make a mess or caught in the middle of cleaning one up. Dirt don't scare God's ears. God is a gardener. God knows things can't grow without sun, rain, and soil. I want to tell her God is always waiting, lingering after the doors close and the phone doesn't ring, and we are finally alone. God is always saying, I love you. I'm here. Don't go, stay, please. I try to explain how God is pleading with us to trust, to love, to listen. That God's voice is melody and bass lines and whisper and thunder and grace. Sometimes when I pray, I think of her, how the voice of God was lingering in her very question. How so many of us, just like her, just like me, just like you, are still searching, still questioning, still doubting. I know I don't have all the answers. I know I never will. That sometimes the best thing we can do is put our hands in the middle of our chest, feel the rhythm there. Turn down the noise in our minds and our lives and whisper, God, whatever you want to say, I'm here. I'm listening. May we all be listening. May we all be rebuilding the beloved community of our nation. Will you join me in a spirit of prayer? God of our heart's understanding, whatever you want to say, we're here. We're listening. Please show us where do we want to stand to bring your justice, mercy, compassion, and love. Amen.
Please rise in body or in spirit for our last song.
Since Adam mentioned pink, we had to do pink.
Ever wonder about what he's doing? How it all turned to lies? Sometimes I think that it's better to never ask why. Cause where there is desire, there is gonna be a flame. Where there is a flame, someone's bound to get burned. Just because it burns doesn't mean you're gonna die. You gotta get
to arm our compassion, to fire our delight, to light our paths today, tomorrow, and always. Thank you. Band, take us out one more time.